Thank you very much. This is an honor and a huge privilege, and a subject that is very, very important and dear to my heart. The global responsibility of business in this interdependent world today has increased exponentially. The fact is, we have a lot of debates on shareholders versus stakeholder management and the impact businesses have not just on their employees and their shareholders, but across the world. I really believe the time for these debates is long gone. We live in an interdependent world, and we must acknowledge and recognize as business people the impact we have on many others who may not count amongst us shareholders and our stakeholders. There is no point us making an extra buck for our shareholders if that goes in them spending it to pay for the wastage and the environmental damage that we create at the same time. So we have to behave and understand what is a responsible business. How do we start laying the foundations of a new definition of how businesses are responsible and what they are truly, truly going to be responsible for in the future? This is hard to do. Shareholders, analysts, quarterly reports do not allow this to happen in any meaningful way, and yet CEOs of businesses have to drive this change. We cannot possibly acquiesce to this dysfunctional status quo that we have today at a time when our world seems to be splitting apart. That will come and bite every business back in a way that will be unexpected. Our pace of change is also very slow. You know all of this. Despite the fires that are burning, the pandemics around us, and the inequality that continues to worsen in many critical countries, and the cost that is rising so enormously for all our businesses as we confront this very unequal and very new world. This crisis, though, must represent absolutely the best opportunity we possibly have. At ICRIER, at Economic Research, we aim to do a lot more work in the area of thinking about sustainability and how businesses can contribute to that far more effectively. There are a few ways in which we must promote action. I'll take a few examples. The first is clearly regulatory. In India, we came up with a CSR contribution regulation, which every business protested against. It required us to put away 2% of our annual profits for using it for CSR purposes. And yet the fact is today, it is accepted, it is working, and it is widespread in its usage to achieve some amazingly wonderful targets and results. Two, if you think about the recent announcement by New Zealand that has announced regulations requiring banks, financial institutions, and major companies to report on climate risks and exposures. Unless we get the investing community to think much more thoughtfully, just like BlackRock has announced, to think much more thoughtfully about the companies they invest in and think about the impact those people have and the exposures they have to climate risk and influence them in that manner, we will remain, unfortunately, very, very isolated and siloed in our business world, pretending that the rest of the world doesn't impact us. The UK government has also come up with plans for pension funds to disclose their exposure to climate change, to think about how they are investing for the future and how they are investing in those companies that are really serious about this, because there is an enormous amount of lip service in the business world in these areas. Lastly, beyond regulation, I really believe we need a global rating system. The global rating system could be as a credit rating system or perhaps a building rating system. A global rating system for companies around sustainability, but very importantly, around products. Products which are rated based on the life cycle of the materials that are used, on how easily those are usable, how easily they are to recycle, how easily they can be sold, and how much value can be created from their material which can be recycled subsequently. If we can create an economic model that really works for recyclable products by providing them these ratings, and the information is available, we have to put our minds to it. It sounds complex, but we must try and provide a rating for every product that we buy. I really believe consumers will vote with their feet and will force companies to think very differently about the products they produce and the impact those products can have on our entire environment. We must think big and bold. Ranking products and rating them will be fought by every major company. There will be 1,000 reasons not to do it, and really only a few reasons to say this is why we must do it. There is no point in rich companies producing products that have built-in obsolescence, that cannot be recycled, that are made in such a way that destroys the inherent value of the materials that are being used. There are many experiments that have been done in this area, and I really believe it is incumbent upon all of us to be able to take these on and make them mainstream, make them part of our lives. Just as we look at calories in a food product, we must look at the sustainability index of every product as we go forward. My belief is that employees, customers will in time vote with their feet. My generation, we did not have this luxury. We were not in a situation where we thought about these were the dangers of sustainability and interdependence as prominent in front of us as they are today. The key point I would leave you with is the incentives for how CEOs are paid must also change. Boards have to come out and ask CEOs to think very differently about how they drive profitability. While I hear the noise about stakeholder and while I hear the noise about stakeholders and shareholders, I am very confident that we and CEOs and companies will find their way through this, just like they do many other problems and solutions, such as global supply chains that are falling apart, tariffs and barriers that are coming up artificially. Every company is able to find its way through. We must change the incentive. We have to play a role with regulation, much bolder, tougher regulation. And we must self-regulate across our products in a way that makes it much more transparent to the world. Thank you very much, and a pleasure. And I really hope businesses can embrace this change. We have no time left. We really have no time left. And we must understand that what we do is hurting us really badly for our future. Thank you.